Hey everyone, so this is the video on different types of immunity. It's the first sort of section of immunity in general and not really looking at specifics of cells. So our learning intention for this video is to understand the difference between active and passive immunity and to also know the difference between artificial and natural immunity. So these are terms we're going to hear a fair bit over the next few lessons. We'll kind of clear those up in this video. So immunity is defined as the ability of an organism to resist a particular infection or toxin by the action of a specific antibody or sensitized white blood cells. So in other words, it's how our body is able to fight off pathogens in a specific manner. So immunity refers to our body's ability to fight off a particular pathogen. So there are two broad categories for immunity. There's natural and artificial. And within those categories, you've got sort of sub-branches which are active and passive. You can sort of see in this diagram, it sort of clears up. Immunity can be broken down into natural and artificial, and then each of those sections are further broken down into active and passive. We'll go through what those different terms mean as we go through. So natural active, if we're looking at our diagram, would be natural then active, is achieved when the body is just producing its own antibodies in response to a natural exposure to a pathogen. So the day-to-day coming across a particular pathogen in your environment, your body develops memory cells, and this then has an immunity against that pathogen in the future. So natural active, as natural implies, it's a natural process, and active refers to the fact that it's our body that's actually doing the work and producing the memory cells. So it results in that long-term immunity. So that's natural active. Natural passive, and we'll go back again and look at the diagram, natural passive, again, is a natural process, and it occurs when antibodies are passed from one organism to another. So this could be through a fetal connection or through breast milk. And what this results in is that short-term immunity. So no memory cells are being developed. So in the case here of breastfeeding, the baby would have some short-term immunity against the pathogen, but wouldn't have any memory because they aren't developing memory cells themselves, and they're able to fight it off in the short term. But if they're exposed to that pathogen down the track, they wouldn't have any immunological memory against it. This is extremely important though for something like a newborn baby, because they need some short-term protection once they leave the womb. They're going to be coming across a whole wide range of pathogens in their environment. So that short-term immunity provided by the mum allows them to fight off those pathogens when they're first born and develop their immune system over time. The third is artificial active. So again, on our branch, we're looking at artificial active. Artificial active is when our body produces its own memory cells and produces antibodies after exposure to a controlled pathogen, in other words, a vaccine. So it's very similar to natural active in the terms that our body creates memory cells and there's long-term immunity, but it's not in a natural way. It's artificially being exposed to a vaccine. Our next video goes through how vaccines work, but basically artificial active means that our body's doing all the work, but it's only doing that because it's been exposed to an artificially controlled pathogen. And the last one, again, looking at our diagram, artificially passive, is achieved when our body receives antibodies through an injection or blood transfusion. So there are these antibodies called monoclonal antibodies. We're going to learn about them in a couple of lessons, but they're actually like artificial antibodies that are injected into patients to help treat a wide range of disorders and diseases. Again, it results in short-term memory though. These antibodies aren't being produced by the individual, and they're not creating their own memory cells. So if they're exposed to a particular pathogen again, they are still at risk of not being able to fight it off. So when we hear that term passive, both in natural passive and artificial passive, it means that the individual's immune system is not creating memory, and they're not really going to have that long-term, immunity against a pathogen. So all four, we've got our four. So active, you can see, natural and artificial. These are the active ones. We're creating memory cells, and we've got infections and vaccinations. And our passive ones, where we're just being, given the antibodies we need, we're not resulting in any memory, are our breastfeeding and our monoclonal antibodies or treatments. So in overview, immunity is just our body's ability to fight off pathogens, and there's four main types. Any type that has active in the name results in memory cells and long-term. And anything that is passive results in no memory cells and that short-term immunity. So we're going to use those terms of active and passive and artificial and natural over the next few lessons. And hopefully this video cleared up the different meanings for them all. Thanks.